Hello and welcome back to What Steven Reads. My name is Steven and today's video is a book haul. And I asked on my page if you'd rather see books mentioned in weekly reading updates or just do a book haul, and the majority of people said a book haul, which I think is better just to do it all in one video because then the other video could focus on the books that I'm talking about. So I think that works out pretty well. So without further ado, let's start the book haul. I did make some coffee. It's cold out today. Today is like the first real cold day. And I had to get my car serviced. And I don't think it was warm enough. I mean, I sat inside, but the inside was kind of gross. So I kept going outside for a smoke. Yes, I do smoke. And yeah, it definitely felt cold. And I just walked Teddy. It was a quick walk because he's just barking at everybody. And I don't get it because he's a cuddly little doggy. But when I walk him and he sees people, he just starts barking. And I have to keep pulling and I feel bad. And he did his business fairly quickly, which was great. And I brought him back home and here I am. So let's get started. I want to start with this one first. This is the fourth Evander Mills detective book in the series by Lev A.C. Rosen, and it's called Mirage City. It's about detective in the 1950s, and in this book he's going to his home base in San Francisco to LA, and I don't want to give too much away because then I'm going to give away stuff for the first three books. But if you enjoy crime fiction and that 1950s vibe, and the protagonist is a queer private detective, former cop, so if you're not into that, skip this. Although I think it's worth a read. I think his series is fantastic. Compelling, interesting, fun characters that I think everybody could enjoy. So Mirage City by Lev A.C. Rosen, book number 4 in the Evander Mills series of detective novels. And then let's jump to, let's see, because I got some new books, meaning like just published, but let's go through some older stuff first. So then I've got, and I can make some room on the table, which would be great. The End of Eternity by Isaac Asimov, and science fiction book, The Eternals Control the World. I just wrote little notes instead of reading the whole entire description. The Eternals control the world and life itself, past, present, and future. Andrew Harlson is an Eternal, but he winds up falling in love. And you're not supposed to have any feelings or emotions when you're an Eternal. And unfortunately, he does fall in love with a woman. And I believe the book is about saving her and not causing impending doom on the entire universe that the Eternals control. So it's Isaac Asimov's Eternity, and The End of Eternity, sorry. And then we have Dark Matter, which I guess is an Apple series now. Bestseller by Blake Crouch. And it is about Jason Dresden seems to have entered an alternate reality. Everything is different. Will he get back to everyone he loves? So he basically wakes up in an alternate reality where his job is different, the people that were in his life are not there, or they're different personalities, different people, and I guess this is his adventure on getting back to his own reality. And I've heard great things about this book, definitely want to get to this. And just a side note, a lot of these books are going to wind up on the TBR tree, because they are things I do want to get to. I'm trying not to buy things that I'm not too sure about. I want to be definite that I do want to read books, so hopefully I picked out a bunch of great novels this time. Because there's some things I have bought in the past 2-3 years that I'm just kind of like, I don't know if I really want to get to that. And then the Interrupted Journey. I'm stuttering a lot today. Sorry. So last week, the other day, I spoke about Beings by Alana Masad. And this is the book that she based her fictional novel on. And it's about Betty and Barney Hill. They are the first documented, and they are an interracial couple back in the early 1960s. And they sought out a psychiatrist to deal with the issues they were having after the supposed abduction. And they wound up getting a hypnotist. And I'm not sure if it's the hypnotist that winds up writing the book. John G. Fuller is also a writer. I can't remember that, but that's not too important. And the hypnotist basically brings forward all these memories that they could not remember about the abduction. So I am curious to check it out and see if it's as chilling as the part of the abduction was in Beings, which that book wasn't really a science fiction scary book, but there were parts of the abduction in there. And just a side note, this book was originally published in the 60s and was a huge seller. They went on lots of tours. This book, I could just tell, is a print-on-demand book. It has absolutely no smell to it, which kind of sucks. I was thinking about returning it and trying to look for an older copy from the 60s or 70s. I don't know. We'll see. I might do that. Let's make some room. Then we have William H. Gass's Omen Setter's Luck. And basically it's 1890s. There's a small Ohio town. And you have two guys, Brackett Omensetter, who's a good man, versus, it's kind of like a good versus evil story, versus Reverend Jethro Ferber. He's a preacher with very violent thoughts, so he doesn't sound like a very good person. I don't know. That sounds awesome. I had first heard about this book from the Life on Books podcast, and it sounded like something just to explore more litfic, and I like the time period. I do like a little bit of historical fiction, so hopefully that's a good pick. I'll let you know. And then Harry Matthews Cigarettes. You got Alan, Maud, and Elizabeth. And Alan is married to Maud. Elizabeth is not married. Alan's dating Maud. Elizabeth is, I guess, her roommate. And Alan is sleeping with Elizabeth. And it's about fraud in the art world. Horse racing and sex, and it just sounds pretty cool, pretty dramatic. Sounds kind of soap opera-ish. I hope it's not that flat. Not to say that soap operas are flat, but I think you know what I mean. I hope it just gets pretty intense. It sounds pretty cool though. And then William Gaddis's J.R. And it's an introduction by Joy Williams. I don't know who that is, but it's about J.R. Van Sant. He is a 6th grader, poor. The back tagline says that his sneakers are all ripped up and his family's got no money, and he basically is an entrepreneur. Starts running a business out of the school, selling newspapers, and he sounds like an inventive kid. It's about America's obsession with money and the downfall of suburban life, and which I think we're going through that right now. I was just watching something on the news about government workers getting on those lines for the food banks because they're not getting paid. It's absolutely ridiculous, and I think, a lot of these books that are postmodern or books that came out in the 80s are very relevant today. So J.R. by William Gaddis. And let me want to see what year this actually came out in. If it did come out in the 80s or 90s. No, original copyright is 1971, which just goes to show you not much really changes. I mean, I love this country, but things are bad. So, yeah, we got those. And then let's move over to some classics here, and then we'll get to the new books. So, Walt Whitman, I bought 2 books. The first one is Leaves of Grass, the first 1855 edition by Walt Whitman. Did not know that story is actually in this book. And you can see, this is more of a collection of Walt Whitman's stories. And they call it The Complete Poems. And I wanted to check out Walt Whitman. I do live on Long Island, and he is a notable part of history here on Long Island. And I wanted to check out some of his writing. So I got those 2 books. And then The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. And I always hope I'm saying that right. And I am going to read this because I don't want to get it wrong. The epic tale of wrongful imprisonment, adventure, and revenge in its definitive translation. Thrown in prison for a crime he has not committed, Edmond Dantes, Dantes, it's not plural, is confined to the grim fortress of If. There he learns of a great hoard of treasure hidden on the Isle of Monte Cristo, and he becomes determined not only to escape, but also to use the treasure to plot the destruction of the 3 men responsible for his incarceration. Dumas's epic tale of suffering and retribution, inspired by a real-life case of wrongful imprisonment, was a huge popular success when it was first serialized in the 1840s. So I had been told about this book several times, and I believe Paula Reeds had also suggested this. And I don't know if you saw her shorts, where she has the whole entire book is just tabbed away. And I couldn't believe it, how many notes that she took on the book, but that's pretty cool. I'm not a big tabber yet. I started to, but then I forget and I don't kind of keep up with it. So that's Alexandre Dumas, The Count of Monte Cristo. And then I had said before, James Baldwin really has become one of my favorite authors, and I want to get through reading all of his books, his novels. Giovanni's Room I read, Another Country I read. Fantastic novels. Giovanni's Room is a very fast read. It's a short book. I put creamer in this time. Usually I just put almond milk, but this is a flavored creamer, sugar-free. It's really good. So I picked up, no, this is not a novel, James Baldwin, The Devil Finds Work, and it's basically his opinions on a few films. And a few of the movies that are mentioned are In the Heat of the Night, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and The Exorcist. I don't know how many books it covers, but just an amazing writer, and it'd be interesting to think what he thought of these movies, and it might be a good idea to watch these movies before. And I have seen The Exorcist several times, and then when it got re-released with the extra footage in it. So I'd like to see his opinions on those cinematic masterpieces. So we'll see. And then this, I did not expect to buy this. I saw this in Barnes & Noble, and it is basically like a biography, but it's about his love life that were written. And it's called James Baldwin, A Love Story by Nicholas Boggs. And I don't know anything about Nicholas Boggs. Let's see. Monumental biography. Considers James Baldwin through the prism of love. So there's some nice quotes here by Zadie Smith, Douglas Brinkley, Lena Waithe, Jacqueline Woodson, K.A. Bird, and Ilion Wood. And I don't know if this is something I'll get through too fast. Maybe I'll just read a little bit once in a while. Great cover, great photograph of James Baldwin. So that might be a nice read before bed. And then let's get to some newer books. And stay tuned for next week's video, because I do want to talk about the direction that this channel's going in. And I do want to focus on books that are off the radar. And we'll get into that more in detail next week. I don't want to give the whole video away, otherwise I'll just combine it into this video. So we got Old Soul by Susan Barker. So in reading this, to me, and I'll just give you like a little quick synopsis of what it's about, sounds like the opposite of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Basically, there's this woman who has entered some people's lives and then disappeared, and as these two people investigate this woman, they hear from other people that they know of her, and she just mysteriously disappeared over a very long period of time. So I don't know if there's something magical going in here or speculative, but it sounds really cool, and that's what I mean, like the opposite of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Like, who is this woman? It's like she's in their lives, but they actually do remember her, because in Addie LaRue, nobody could remember her. She was just completely forgotten. So it sounds really awesome. It sounds cool. It's called Old Soul by Susan Barker, and author of The Incarnations, which I never read. So if you read Incarnations, or if you picked this up, let me know in the comments. I'd be interested to know. And then I got Shadow Ticket by Thomas Pynchon. Thomas, right? Yeah, Thomas Pynchon. Again, I have never read Gravity's Rainbow. That book is huge. I have The Crying of Lot 49 on the TBR tree when it comes up, unless I just pick it out because it is a faster book to read, so I can just learn about Thomas Pynchon's writing style. So I'll just give you a quick little read through. Let's see. It's Milwaukee, 1932. The Great Depression is going on. I think, what's the thing called when you couldn't drink alcohol? I can't think of the word right now. Anyway, Hicks McTaggart, he's a private eye, and he's been hired to rescue the heiress to a cheese empire. And it's just that with Thomas Pynchon writes stuff like that. I have no idea, but it sounds cool. I think it's getting decent reviews, and supposedly this probably will be his last novel. I had heard that he is older now and he is ill. I don't know, but I've never read anything by him, so maybe this will be the first read I read for Thomas Pynchon, or Crying of Lot 49, or Inherent Vice. I don't know, we'll see. But it sounds pretty cool. I know he has run-ins with the Nazis in this book. Winds up on a transatlantic ship looking for this cheese woman, so I don't know. We'll find out. And then Wild Dark Shore, a novel by Charlotte McConaughey. And she says she's a New York Times bestselling author, but I think everyone's a New York Times bestselling author. Dominic Salt and his 3 kids, they watch over an island. And there's a storm, and a woman washes ashore. Her name is Rowan. And it seems that Rowan needed a change in her life, and it might be that this man and his 3 kids are the change that she needs. But apparently she's hiding something. I don't know what her motives were for heading towards the island, or if she was heading towards the island. But at the same time, is Mr. Salt hiding something as well? So it sounds totally cool. I love the cover. Check that out. Love it. And yeah, this is the book that I mentioned that I had seen a long time ago when it came out. I never picked it up because I wasn't picking up necessarily newer books. And then I saw someone talking about it online, and I said, maybe I should pick up newer books that no one really talks about. And this is the book, Wild Dark Shore. And then one book, I picked this up last week. It's called The Slip. I still have the receipt in here. Take that out of there. By Lucas S.C. Heffer. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Heffer? Heffer. I don't know if you can see the name there, how you would pronounce that, but look that up. And I said read the insert, my note to myself, because I don't want to get this wrong. This just sounded really awesome. And stuff that I'm looking for. Just different stories about people's intertwined lives. And not that I want to read sad stuff about people's struggles and things, but stuff different. And I haven't read a fantasy, except for the cozy fantasy, in a while. And I don't know. I guess these other types of books are appealing to me more. So let's see. I gotta put my glasses on for this because the text is so tiny on the flap. Austin, Texas. It's the summer of 1998. Love a good book about my olden days. And there's a new face on the scene at Terry Tucker's boxing gym. 16-year-old Nathaniel Rothstein has never felt comfortable in his own skin, but under the tutelage of a swaggering Haitian-born ex-fighter named David Dallas, he begins to come into his own. Even the boy's slightly stoned uncle, Bob Alexander, who is supposed to be watching him for the summer, notices the change. Nathaniel is happier, more confident, tanner even. I don't know why it's important that he's tan. Then one night he vanishes, leaving a little trace behind. Across the city, Charles Rex, now going simply by X, has been undergoing a teenage transformation of his own. Trolling the phone sex hotline that his mother works, seeking an outlet for everything that feels wrong about his body, looking for intimacy and acceptance in a culture that denies him both. As a surprising and unlikely romance blooms, X feels, for a moment, like he might have found the safety he's been searching for, but it's never that simple. More than a decade later, Nathaniel's Uncle Bob receives a shocking tip, propelling him to open his own investigation into his nephew's disappearance. The resulting search involves gym-goers, past and present, including a down-on-his-luck twin and his opportunistic brother, a rookie cop determined to prove himself, and Alexis Cepeda, a promising lightweight who crossed the U.S.-Mexico border when he was only 14, carrying with him a license bearing the wrong name and face. Bobbing and weaving across the ever-shifting canvas of a changing country, The Slip is an audacious, daring look at sex and race in America that builds to an unforgettable collision in the center of the ring. All right, that sounded awesome to me, and I hope it's good. I hope all these books are good. And I am taking a break from buying so many books. This is a culmination of, I don't know, a month of book shopping. I hope it's at least a month. I don't know. It could be a little bit more. I did not go today, because usually on Tuesday I go to Barnes & Noble. I do think I need to slow it down a little bit and catch up on my existing books. So, yeah. This is the little Post-it thing that I was using to write my notes in back of the book. It's a little typewriter. And it just fell on the floor. Okay. I'll pick that up before Teddy or Chip gets it. So that's the book haul for today. It went a lot faster than I thought it would. I haven't read them, so I can't really give you any insight into the books. I can only tell you my interpretation of the descriptions on the insides of the book. So, do you think I should start one of these? Should I pick something from previous months that I've bought? And yeah, we're doing the book from The Tree, Robert Bolaño, and The Stand. So yeah, stay tuned for next week's video reading update, and we'll talk about the direction I want to take this channel. It's really just about not giving you books that everyone else is reading, just to find those obscure novels that sound interesting and cool and funky, but not fluffy, All right, if you have any comments, questions, book suggestions, please leave a comment in the comments section down below, and I will see you all next week. All right, take care. Bye-bye.